I am very, very grateful for the opportunity.
On Stephen A. Smith's show, Shannon Sharpe gave some insights into his fallout with former co-host Skip Bayless.
Where I get upset is that when people say Skip Bayless made Shannon Sharpe, but it had gotten to the point that we needed to go our separate ways. Skip and I didn't have the relationship that I have with the people that I missed. Basically, Skip would get to work, I would get to work. I was in my dressing room, he was in his dressing room. It was really like a heavyweight fight. We barely talked. I mean, honest to God. We might say hello. We go to the bathroom. If we're passing each other in the bathroom, hello, that was it.
Incredibly revealing, giving credence to reports of their fractured relationship.
Once one partner has no respect for the other partner then in turn loses respect for said partner. Then I think it's only a matter of time. Because I felt in that moment he had lost all respect for me.
This was Sharpe discussing the aftermath from their Tom Brady debate.
In that moment, Stephen, I had to make a split-second decision. And the decision I made was to have a further long-term career. Because I knew at that moment in time, it was only a matter of time. They was going to have to separate us. I knew that.
Smith then asked him, what was that split-second decision?
Remember going home, calling my sister? I called my brother. Well, my grandma used to always tell me, say, boy, don't be a slave to loyalty. It took a lot. It took a lot for me not to put my hands on him. It actually did. I'm appreciative. I'm thankful for the opportunity. But I believe you can do something for someone without have to constantly remind him of what you've done for them. That's where I am. I just refuse to be a slave to loyalty and allow people to walk all over me because they've done something good for me.
Then Smith asked about what occurred after the Damar Hamlin debacle with Bayless's tweet and Bayless not allowing Shannon Sharpe to complete his monologue.
I just wanted him to let me get through. He could object to anything that I said that he liked or disliked or he wanted to add. That was fine, but just let me get through it. But at that point in time, I just think the thing is, he was like, I don't really want to hear anything else he has to say. I just want to move on.
Lastly, Shannon talked about how the future was uncertain, but somebody like Stephen A. Smith offered him a platform, which he's thankful for.
Bruh, when you called me and said, it's not up to me, but I am going to tell the bosses. I have bosses. He's like, yes, First Take, I'm the executive producer, but I have bosses over Stephen A. Smith. But I am going to tell them today that I want Shannon Sharpe on First Take. Now, whether or not you want to come and be a part of that, that's on you. But I'm going to tell them that today. And being a man of your word, you did exactly that.
I want to give a shout out before I get into my take on this, which is Front Office Sports, AJ Perez, Michael McCarthy did some amazing work through their sources in order for us to understand what was going on behind the scenes. That is real journalism, and their reporting was accurate throughout that time, that small window of time where Shannon Sharpe was clearly peeved at Skip Bayless. He then left Fox Sports 1 and is now doing his Club Shay Shay podcast. He was doing it previously, but also now working with Stephen A. Smith and ESPN. It felt very uncomfortable. A thing that I believe is very important was the credence that ex-professional athletes gave when they weighed in and said something is not right here. To disrespect Shannon Sharpe, who's a Hall of Famer, a 7th rounder, and for him, at the time of his retirement, be the greatest tight end in football history, although he would say his brother Sterling was, whose career was cut short. And for Bayless to continue playing his villain role, but also the Tom Brady bootlicker role, that he has to defend a few guys, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, Johnny Manziel, Tim Tebow, at every turn. For him to go low and to disrespect Shannon to Shannon's face, we knew there was going to be fallout. For And Shannon said he was wrong for not showing up after Bayless put up that tweet where he inserted himself into the Damar Hamlin story, so he was talked about just as much as the near catastrophe that we saw on Monday Night Football, nationally televised, of course. Shannon said he regretted not going to work that next day, and he learned from that. But he was really peeved as well that Bayless would not allow him to get through his monologue, and he kept interrupting. That was wrong of Skip. Furthermore, as we were all watching this, we knew the end was near. We just didn't know where Shannon was going to go next. It felt very odd watching this. It was awkward watching this. They would joke about it at the end, about breakups and what have you, but rarely do we have, and reality TV, I suppose, does this the best, but that's manufactured in a way. This is not. Rarely do we get an inside look where we know that two people despise one another and they have to continue lining up against each other as a team, per se, for a network. The end was near. And we know that Shannon has obviously had greener pastures. His celebrity rose immensely after this show. He also wanted to make very clear, and I agree with this, Skip Bayless did not make him. Shannon was already on CBS. He was already on NFL Network. He was already a Hall of Famer. I believe right now, after seeing what we saw with Bayless and Sharpe breaking up essentially, Shannon outshined Skip. The rumor was Skip doesn't like that. He doesn't want people to outshine him on his own show. Too bad. Shannon did it. He's now on ESPN. His podcast has well over 1 million subscribers. And Bayless is now, for lack of a better way of putting it, second, maybe third fiddle, and he's not getting out of that spot. Stephen A. has dominated him in the ratings. ESPN has dominated him in the ratings. Some have said, well, maybe he should get Max Kellerman. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So he has Richard Sherman, who I think is really good. Keyshawn Johnson, Rachel Nichols, Michael Irvin, solid ex-players, and a former journalist. All very strong. Shannon made the right move. Because to go into an environment, and we've all been there, no matter the job, to go into an environment where it is painful to be there, you're not enjoying it. They say don't bring the work home. It's hard not to. It's hard not to when your livelihood is at stake. And the people you're supposed to view as having a kinship, coworkers, family, when they take a dump on you for everybody to see, for America to see, imagine that heightened level that Shannon was at. I will triple down on this. He made the right move. And at this point, he is, along with Stephen A., crushing Skip Bayless.